We need to stand up to the bullying that we're getting from our government.
Construction of the Regina bypass has begun, but questions surrounding the project still remain. Is a south route truly the best option? Has the government been completely honest with the public? Who influenced the route selection?
We didn't choose it for them. It's their project, they funded, and they make the final decision.
We knew we couldn't stop it.
And if we find out we weren't doing it right, well, that'll be years from now.
At least in Crimea, when the Russians came in and took it over, you could defend yourself.
With government transparency up for debate, we will investigate the reasoning behind the south route, the validity of a north alternative, and the reason why so many of our questions remain unanswered.
Well, that's what you're doing here. You're bulldozing through our life.
Activist group Y Tower Road has been a loud voice against the bypass project. The group is led by Nestor Mryglod, owner of Super Seamless of Canada. Before the project was announced, Mryglod was going to use his land along Highway 1 to expand his business. With both land and opportunity lost, he now fights for justice.
We're living proof that if you stand up to the government, they come bulldozing through your life. And the story needs to be told. And we'll tell the story.
Featuring 12 overpasses and 32 bridges, the Regina bypass will cover nearly 60 kilometers of road and cost $1.88 billion. Beginning at Balgony, it will head west on Highway number 1, turning south just east of Tower Road. It will cross Highway 33 and head back to Highway 1 before linking to the global transportation hub and continuing north to Highway 11. Y Tower Road has drawn up a north alternative in response to the government's south route.
It'd be $1 billion, and that would include putting overpasses at White City and Pilot Butte and Balgony. But
how did you price that out?
We use questions have been asked in the committee meetings. How much does it cost per kilometer to build a highway? There were signs up at Estevan, how many miles of highways were being built at such a price. So we use those figures. An overpass is anywhere from $40 to $60 million. So it was quite easy to figure it out. And then we added probably another 30% or so.
Y Tower Road's proposed north route would start at Balgony and follow Highway 46. It will continue north to Highway 6 and Highway 11 before heading south. It will then link up to the global transportation hub and finally reach Highway number 1.
We didn't have engineers working on it. We had people that are in the know, that have qualifications, and we use the government's own information.
The Ministry of Highways refused to comment on their decision to go south. However, we spoke with Rod Benroth, Director of Public Works and Infrastructure for the RM of Sherwood. In 1993, he worked on a government study that measured traffic patterns around Regina. This was one of the earliest studies considered in the bypass project.
I think at that time the conclusion was that the amount of traffic that was coming in from Highway 1 was extreme. Like it was over the capacity of what was there right now for the road structure. To bypass the city, that was the most economical route at the time. Yeah, in 1993, we never considered the north route.
The RM of Sherwood and other stakeholders were asked to weigh in on several variations of a south route. The RM preferred that the bypass utilize Tower Road since they had just repaved it. However, it was decided that the bypass would run 400 meters east alongside Tower Road.
The opposition we had is that it would, by moving the bypass further out or moving it out into there would actually just maybe lead to more annexation by the city because it's almost like a boundary, right? You've created a boundary by creating a bypass.
The land around Tower Road is controversial for more than one reason. Opposition alleges that deals have been struck and landowners in the area have influenced the preferred route.
This isn't rocket science. When you look at who owns property, if you have the power and the control of being an elite developer or in government, you basically do what you want.
Similar allegations have been made against the city, as they have a vested stake in alleviating traffic. We spoke with Regina's mayor, Michael Fougere, about their involvement with the route selection.
From our perspective as a city council, we want the project to go ahead. Doesn't matter where it is, just build it because it answers a lot of traffic questions, congestion issues, and safety issues in southern Saskatchewan. So we're very much in favor of it. This is a provincial project. They sought our advice. We have said on a number of occasions, probably 2 or 3 motions from council, just build the bypass. Without knowing where it was, just build the bypass. Province determine the best place. Go ahead and build it. The sooner you build it, the better.
Even though construction of the bypass is underway, Mryglod and the rest of Y Tower Road have not given up their fight. Mryglod is asking the government for a public inquiry into the bypass, with the hope that alleged wrongdoings will be exposed.
It's not right that the government does this to people. I'm sorry. So that's what drives me. In my life, I've had to fight for everything. And it's a matter of right or wrong. And this is wrong. It's terribly wrong. They're trying to hide it under the carpet. You know, we've put a lot of time into it, and my brother is running against Christine Tell, simply to inform the public and to get some accountability and transparency in our government.
This lack of transparency may be caused by the project's P3 model. In a public-private partnership, companies are hired to design, build, and maintain the project. The theory is that they'll make improvements to their plans since they're responsible for maintaining it. Bill Bonner, University of Regina business professor, is skeptical of these benefits.
The whole rationale for the project is that the value for money is better under the private sector option, the P3 option, than it is under the traditional build. But when you get right down to it, the reason that they're different is almost always because they've added a whole risk element.
The Value for Money report, commissioned by Sask Builds, estimates the cost of risks associated with the project. According to this report, the province will save $380 million by using a P3 model. The biggest factor that makes the P3 cheaper is that its risk element is $400 million less than a traditional build.
All you ever get to see in the public is this lump sum. In the case of the highway project, it's $476 million of risk was created out of thin air and then attached to the public cost. Up until that point, the public cost was cheaper than the private cost. And that's almost always the case. On a pure cost of construction, it's cheaper for the public than it is for the private. We have an infrastructure deficit in this country. We have more infrastructure projects than we have money to spend on. We just do. And this is a way of the public only putting out some of its money now. The private sector putting out some of its money now. We pay them back over time. So we get to work with more money than we've got right now. But that's a scary argument because you're mortgaging the future. This is public money. I don't see how. And this is what the adaptation seems to be required. We have to change democracy to fit the private sector model. It doesn't work. And if that's the cost, I think it's too high. Forget all this other stuff. If secrecy around public money is the cost, it's just too high.